Are you ready to uncover the mysterious secrets hidden inside Tutankhamun's tomb? This ancient pharaoh's burial site has fascinated historians and archaeologists for decades, and the revelations they have uncovered will leave you breathless. What secrets await those brave enough to explore this fascinating piece of history? Let's dig deep and find out. The opening of Tutankhamun's tomb by Howard Carter in 1922 sparked a sequence of discoveries that captured the public's interest and began a long-lasting relationship with the boy king's colorful 3,300-year-old burial chamber and his gold treasures. Nearly a century later, a team of scientists has now finished the most thorough examination of the tomb to date. A 10-year project of painstaking study and conservation that has answered some mysteries but also generated fresh concerns about the future of one of the most well-known ancient monuments in the entire world. The study was carried out jointly by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and the Getty Conservation Institute based near Los Angeles. The results are being presented at a conference this week in Luxor. The 1,182 square foot tomb restoration project began in 2009 and was initially scheduled to be finished by 2014. About a dozen conservators worked on it at once. However, the project was delayed by the 2011 Egyptian Revolution and the ensuing unrest in 2013. Mysterious brown spots. The constant brown freckles that appear in all of the tomb's wall murals are one of its distinguishing features. The mystery spots, which were present when Carter opened the burial chamber and was meticulously documented in old photographs, have remained a source of intrigue and worry. What precisely are they? And more importantly, are they growing in number? High quantities of malic acid, a metabolic byproduct of some fungi and bacteria, were found during an analysis of the spots, proving that they are really microbiological in origin. However, electron microscope imaging of the dots revealed no traces of the original creatures that formed them. DNA examination of swabs collected from the tomb walls revealed contemporary organisms such as Bacillus and Cocuria. Tuts' sudden demise led the conservators to hypothesize that the preparation of his tomb was probably hurried, and that the freshly painted and plastered walls would have maintained enough moisture for germs to flourish in the dark, warm climate of the tomb once it was sealed. The spots are dead. They have been for a very long time, and they are not expanding, according to the conservators, who were able to establish this by comparing images taken shortly after the tomb's opening to those taken today. The mystery markings won't be painted over or covered up because they are seen as a significant part of the tomb's history, according to Agnew. Earlier studies had tested the spots in different ways and treated them with biocides when they thought it might be spreading, so this wasn't always the case. Busting dust. The persistent accumulation of dust in the tomb has been one of its stickiest issues. Every surface of the tombs is covered in fine-grained, thirsty desert dust that is tracked in by an estimated 500 to 1,000 daily visitors. This dust is made even more persistent by the fact that it takes in moisture from the human breath. The glass-covered sarcophagus that now occupies Tuts' burial chamber could be cleaned by guards. Still, there was no damage-free way to remove the thin, streaky veils of dust that built up on the tomb's delicate paintings. In order to address the long-term dust issues, conservators worked out a plan while meticulously examining and cleaning the wall murals. They did this by installing a sophisticated air filtration and ventilation system that not only keeps the dusty scourge out of the tomb environment, but also stops excess particulates from wafting in. The constant air exchange has also controlled the tomb's temperature and humidity, which were formerly subject to dramatic swings. Are there others buried with Tut? Reeves shares the optimism of a select group of researchers over the potential for Nefertiti's tomb to house more burial rooms. Even though discovering her mummy under any name would have been a significant step forward in the study of ancient Egypt, there is still a chance that these stacked rooms will hold something else for them to uncover. Frank Rowley from the University of Zurich in Switzerland worked on a thorough investigation of King Tut's mummy, establishing a list of royal people who could be there. The presence of any of these mummies could more clearly demonstrate King Tut's relationship with other royal figures. There is also a chance that these rooms are not simply storage rooms. In any event, the existence of these rooms carries an infinite number of possibilities for what it might tell us about King Tut. Ethan Krause asserts that the only thing that can be said for sure about Tutankhamun is that he has passed away. Was Tut's tomb built for him or someone else? Reeves is one expert who believes that Tut's tomb is too small to hold the remains of a pharaoh of Egypt. Some people thought that Tutankhamun's unexpected death compelled them to rapidly re-prepare the tombs after they had already finished one of them. Even though the cemetery is home to an enormous amount of artwork, only one of the 4 burial chambers has been painted and plastered. At the same time, the other royal tombs from that era were fully constructed and ornamented. Early stages of Tut's soul's transfer to the afterlife are shown in the artwork in his tomb. Life after death. Reeves claims that at least 80% of their burial estate show evidence of having been separated from those of previous kings, including Akhenaten. He is Nefertiti, who was buried as the pharaoh Semenkhara, and Hawass argues that Nefertiti's prominent role in the worship of god Aten makes it difficult to believe that it can be buried in the Valley of the Kings, the holy place of god Amun. Reeves also thinks that instead of building an extended tomb for Tut, the builders may have separated and allocated part of another large cemetery. There is no curse of King Tut. George Herbert, a wealthy lord with a love of Egyptology, accompanied Carter when he first explored King Tut's undiscovered tomb in November 1922. Herbert passed away 4 months later from what appeared to be blood poisoning brought on by a mosquito bite. Newspaper reports said that the Englishman had been harmed by a mummy's curse that was purportedly described on a clay tablet found outside of Tut's tomb. After the abrupt passing of additional visitors to the Valley of the Kings, rumors started to spread again. However, it later emerged that irrational journalists made up the tale about the inscription. And in 2002, researchers looked at the survival statistics of 44 Westerners who had visited Egypt during Carter's excavation, and came to the conclusion that their risk of early death was not increased. How did Tutankhamun die? We don't anticipate to find an answer to the crucial question of how Tutankhamun passed away from any of the items in the recently discovered rooms. The young monarch had malaria, according to Raleigh's DNA testing, and a CT scan revealed that he had a rare bone ailment that damaged his right foot and gave him a deformed appearance. In Tut's tomb, 130 walking sticks were discovered, and there was proof of their use during his lifetime. Raleigh believes that the best explanation is a major fracture of his leg because neither of these illnesses is necessarily fatal. He had a significant knee fracture that allowed the bone to pierce the flesh and seriously bleed. Raleigh cannot medically guarantee that the leg fracture happened during Tut's life. It may have happened after his death. However, the concept of a fatal leg injury validates the king's rapid death. In order to determine whether Tut was a strong and active pharaoh who led the armies into battle, or if he was simply a weak mock ruler who was manipulated and exploited by those who were greedy in the governing council and older than him, Raleigh claims that understanding and evaluating Tut's health will affect the researcher's viewpoint and assessment. In order to learn more about Tut's health and determine the reason for his demise, Raleigh hopes to be able to perform a longer and more in-depth investigation of Tut's body. Future dangers. The most in-depth examination of Tutankhamun's tomb in modern history is now complete. Yet there are still some uncertainties regarding its destiny. Dust's long-term effects are still a mystery. It is unknown how the dust, which was found to predominantly be composed of calcium, magnesium, aluminum, and phosphorus, may chemically interact with the naturally occurring minerals in the paints and the colors on the tomb walls. Another worry that hasn't been taken into account, according to Agnew, is the physical risks associated with greater flooding brought on by climate change. Tut's tomb is built from the same porous clay as all of its neighbors in the Valley of the Kings, yet it is safe from direct flooding. The plastered walls and paintings of the tomb could be totally ripped apart by vapor if other tombs flood, warns Laurie Wong, the Getty's principal painting conservator on the Tut project. The major immediate threat to the tomb is still tourism. It's uncertain whether the Egyptian government will ultimately limit most public access to the real tomb, despite the presence of a top-notch, extremely accurate copy just a mile away, and therefore reduce a guaranteed revenue stream. The public's interest in the monuments has not diminished, according to France, despite the elimination of visitors to the actual prehistoric cave art sites at Lascaux and Chauvet and their redirections to replicas. An estimated 260,000 people went to a relatively fresh replica at Lascaux in 2017. Pascal Terrasse, head of the Pondoc Grand Project, a duplicate of Chauvet Cave that receives more than 2,000 people each day, states, "We know the human influence in our history. Managers of historical works must take this opportunity when new technologies are made accessible for heritage protection. Because of digital tools, we were able to create the largest false cave in the world and do a really convincing job. Agnew says he at least believes that the cumulative effect of the recent conservation work on Tutankhamun's tomb would increase people's understanding of its importance for those who visit in the future. Agnew says in his conclusion, one should be reminded that a visit to a grave should be one of humility and interest. It's not a freak show, it's a king's tomb. Therefore, we should treat it with respect. In this day of mass tourism though, that is a challenging place to reach. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications before leaving. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.